Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Finding Brave. I am like bouncing out of my chair. I'm so excited to have the inspiring Jordan Friedman with me. I want to tell you, this is about managing stress during a pandemic and beyond. But I think that what you hear today from Jordan is actually going to be and I'm not saying this in a hyperbolic way, it's truly going to be a life changer in so many ways because we're not always going to be in a pandemic, right? Life is going to no, it's not going to return to normal. No, but we're going to bounce forward, and this is going to not bounce back, bounce forward, as my friend Cheryl Hunter says. I really know that these tips and strategies and what you hear today can truly transform your life. So I hope you'll listen up and pay close attention. So, Jordan, thank you for taking time. I so
Oh,
appreciate it.
thank you, Kathy. My stress is already reduced. You're the stress coach.
Oh, you're hilarious. If you'd seen me a few weeks ago, you would have not said that. I can have a lot of stress. And I do, I have questions for you. So many questions about what I struggle with. And I do want to share with everyone when this comes out, it's a few weeks later from when we record it. I was telling Jordan, I went away with my daughter to the woods in Maine to a cabin with an outhouse, wood burning stove. And we get there and there's no service on the phone. And there's no service about 15-minute drive either. You got to and I want to say that I literally went through as if I were detoxing from a drug, and the anxiety I had to rein in. And really it was about, I'm a mom, and I think moms and dads will relate, that the idea was, what if my other son was traveling? What if they needed to reach me life and death? I mean, I had to rein it in. And I felt the effects of the detox, like it was rough. And then the next day, I literally felt changed. So this is how one small thing, it's not small, not being addicted to the device and what the device does, can truly change your life. But you're going to hear so many tips. So let me tell you about Jordan first. I learned of the amazing Jordan through my dear friend William Aruda. William is a million things, but he's the father of personal branding. But I just read his Forbes post today about how to make, I forget the title, how to make Zoom less exhausting and less draining and less boring. You too, you have a lot of amazing stuff coming out, gotta say. But here's Jordan. Every day, Jordan helps thousands of stressed and anxious people worldwide work, sleep, and feel better. He's a pioneer of stress management and wellness promotion, first as director of Columbia University's health education program, wow, and now as president of the Stress Coach, a New York based chill factory that produces acclaimed stress reduction training programs and resources. Motivated by his own stress to success story, Jordan has helped everyone from CEOs and college students to police officers and incarcerated adults and career coaches and writers too. Thank you again, Jordan. All right. Can we dig in? Can we start with, tell us the story? And you have an amazing backstory of what you've been through. Can we hear that and your journey to doing this work? Can we hear about it?
Yes, and thank you, Kathy, for having me on.
Such a
It
pleasure.
really is like being in summer camp and getting to hang out with you.
You sweet
So,
thing.
and everyone else listening and watching, fellow campers, uh, here at Stress Reduction Camp Stress Reduction.
I
Um,
already feel better.
so yeah, and you should hit the buzzer if I go on too long
I'll
with
cut you off. The
anything,
hook will come in.
including the story. So yeah, you know what? Maybe I should save this till after the story, but I think a lot of us end up doing what we need. And that did not become clear to me until years after I experienced what I experienced. So the story is that I was a really precocious, smart kid, little kid, and I used to read a lot. They would sit me on a stool in front of the fifth graders when I was in kindergarten, and I'd read a book like
What?
a trained seal because it was so like, oh my God, this kid can read so well. And so reading was a big thing, and I did really well in school. And then I got to fifth grade, and one day I was doing my homework, and my mother saw my homework, and she said, Jordan, why are you writing off of the lines of your paper? For those of you who are too young to remember loose leaf notebook paper, it's paper with lines that we used to write using a pencil or pen. So she said, what's up with that? And I said, well, it was a little hard for me to see in school today, and it's hard for me to see the lines on the paper. So my mother is a jump into action woman. So she got the ophthalmologist on the phone right away, and I was in the chair the next morning at 7:30 a.m. and they put the occluder, that thing they put over one eye, and I couldn't see anything out of my
Oh
left
my
eye. I was
gosh.
totally blind in my left eye. Literally overnight, I did not have any clue that this was happening. And then, I went right to the hospital, and they did head x-rays, and this was back in the 70s, so they didn't have the sophisticated equipment that they have today. So they sent me to a more sophisticated hospital, Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, where I'm from, and University of Pennsylvania. And they did more x-rays, and they discovered that I had the largest brain tumor ever found in a human being.
Oh my gosh. And how
So
old were you?
10,
Oh my
10.
gosh.
Um, and so they pretty much told my parents that I had a month to live.
Oh my gosh, Jordan.
They were sure it was cancer because, when things are that big, when
Yeah.
growths are that big in our bodies, they're almost always cancer. But my mother said, you know what? You gotta operate. You gotta, at least try to save his life. And they did exploratory procedures and surgeries, and they got samples of the brain tumor. And lo and behold, they discovered that it was not malignant, but that it was benign, and that it had been growing since conception.
Wow.
And and that's so for 11 years, it had been growing and was never detected, no symptoms at all.
What?
So then days later, I had my first brain surgery.
Oh my
So
gosh.
big, the tumor, it was here, mostly like a mass connected to my brain and to my head. And then it grew completely through around my brain, around my optic nerves, which is what caused the vision loss, through my sinuses, cheekbones, down the back of my neck. So
Gosh.
it was like a tree, and the main part was up here. So the first surgery, they removed the main part. They said we're going to have to do another surgery to try and get the rest of it. They did the second surgery. They couldn't get the rest of it because it was just so big and intertwined. They
Oh
hoped
my.
it would start to disappear when I reached puberty, which was characteristic of tumors like this, although they never really identified what kind of tumor this was. Strange thing happened after the second surgery, which was successful in terms of what they removed. I started to lose the sight in my right eye. So,
Did the sight return in the other eye or no?
well, it took several years. So I was nearly blind for a few years
Oh,
between the
Jordan.
time I was 10 and 13. I was scheduled for a third brain surgery at NIH outside of Washington because they couldn't figure out why I was losing my sight. And then just before that third surgery, my sight started to stabilize. They put off the surgery, and then my sight started to come back slowly over a 3 to 4 year period. Did not return to normal vision. I still don't have normal vision. I'm still mostly blind in my left eye, but my right eye came back a fair amount, so I can sort of do the things I can do, although I'm legally blind. And reading is the big thing that's difficult for me.
Oh
Reading,
wow. And you were such an avid reader.
that's the thing. It was like the
Oh.
thing that I held on to and loved was taken away from me. The rug was pulled out from under me. So, you know what happened? I promise I will finish this story. Uh,
Oh, it's fascinating.
is that so fifth grade, sixth, I missed the rest of fifth grade. I started somewhere, during sixth grade. And remember when we were kids, this still I'm sure happens. The teacher goes around and each kid reads a paragraph, the next paragraph in the story or in the textbook.
I remember.
And I would be, in the second row of the class. I
Crying.
didn't want anyone to know what had happened to me. I didn't want anyone to know that I wasn't normal, that I couldn't see or read just like they could. So I would count and say, okay, they're starting with Joey, and then one, two, three, four,
Stressful.
five. I'm the sixth person they're going to get to. They're doing one paragraph each student. I'm going to memorize the sixth paragraph
Right here in class?
right here before it got to me.
What a prodigious brain.
And
You did that?
when that didn't work, sometimes it did. When it didn't work, my plan B was that I would excuse myself to go to the bathroom.
And
So
this
that,
was because your sight was, it wasn't that your brain couldn't read, it was your
oh
sight,
yeah, I
right?
just could, but visually couldn't see it. When I look at words on a page or a word, like you or somebody with quote unquote normal vision looks at the word house, you see the H, the O, the U, the S, and the E. I see the H, a third of the O, the other two-thirds of the O are blurry, and then I don't see the other letters of
Rest of it?
house at all. So it takes me much longer to go across a word and a sentence.
Oh,
That's still the case today. And we can talk later about how I deal with that. But uh, so I spent years sort of trying to pretend I was normal, could do everything everyone else could do. And then I somehow managed to make it. I had support and I had things put on tape for me. So I wasn't without any support. But I got to college and my usual supports. I was away from home. I went out of state. I didn't get the help I needed because I needed to initiate that help myself. I still wanted to be normal. My gosh, you go to college, you want to be, cool like everyone else. Um, and Kathy, I just reached a point during my first year and I just crashed. It was too much work. I couldn't keep up with it. This wasn't high school anymore. College is a lot tougher. And I wound up in the doctor's office at the student health service, and the doctor said, Jordan, the all of the indigestion and the pains around eating and all of that stuff connected to that, it's real, and I can give you medication for that. I think you should also take a stress management course because I think your stress level is causing you these symptoms. Well, at 18, yeah, I thought that's bonkers. And
you
what
didn't
stress?
believe that? You
Yeah,
didn't
I'm
believe
invincible at 8. I didn't believe it. What has stress got to do? I didn't understand the connection between stress and how we feel and how our bodies operate. But I took the stress management course,
okay, you listened, you were open.
and it changed my life. It the first day in class we learned how to do a technique which I use now. It's still the most popular technique I teach.
Can you do
And
it now? Is it just a few minutes?
yeah, we can do it. But I'll also just finish by saying that uh, immediately it helped me feel better, and I sort of was opened up to the possibility that life didn't have to be nonstop stress, which it turns out is what I had been experiencing for 8 nonstop years from when the tumor happened. So uh, that's what
What a
launched
story.
my career. And I said at the beginning, we end up doing, a lot of us, we do what we need, and I so needed
What
stress
a
reduction.
blessing. All
And
right,
I
I
was
got
just
all right, I need you on for an hour, Jordan. How's that? Can I ask this for people listening now? I'm always listening with two brains. What I want to know, I'm stressed. I want to know, and what I hope the listeners would want. You didn't recognize you were living with 8 years of stress. Can you tell us? Can we start here with what once you've released it? It's kind of like my cabin in the woods thing. Once I didn't look at that phone, once I reined in the fear that something's going to happen with my child, there was this shift like, oh, this is what that feels like. Can you tell us what 8 years of stress actually felt like, and how people can listen, how people can learn you are holding that stress and you don't even know you are. Is that something you can answer?
Yeah, I mean, I think that for me, it was like there was always somebody else there. So it's the voices we have in our head, right? That um, it was like another person, and it was constantly saying, "Do this, do this. Oh, make sure nobody realizes you're really this. It's got to be perfect because you can't show any of your mistakes because of your visual impairment, and you gotta, mom expects you to, you know, do everything high quality and show that you're just as good as everyone else. I'm bringing in some of my family psychology to this, but I
Right.
think we all appreciate how other people impact the way we think. So um, I just never was able to. I didn't know that there were other ways of living. Right when
So
you're
do
when
you
you're in,
think that you were felt pressure? This is not to blame mom, but I talk about perfectionistic over functioning, doing more than is appropriate, necessary, and healthy, and trying to get an A plus. And that is a crushing way to live. And
yeah,
we get depressed and anxious and sick and miserable. But we don't pop out of the womb with that. We're trained to be that. And women, I think, have more of it often. But do you think that not mom intended it, and no parents are out waking up saying, I'm going to blow it today? But do you think you felt like you couldn't say to mom, I can't do what you're expecting of me?
oh, it took me years. Kathy, what happened was I didn't get, I got the support of, okay, we'll get people to put stuff, to record stuff for you so that you can read it.
So
What
that you
I
can be at
didn't get,
everyone's level.
what I didn't get at all, or certainly I didn't get nearly enough of it was, Jordan, this really sucks. You have every right to not want to do this, to not want to run a marathon 24 hours a day or 18 hours a day when you're not sleeping. You, I get why you just want to give up. I get why you might not want to be a doctor or, a lawyer or an anchor person, which are all three things I wanted to be, or an architect. I mean,
That
yes,
didn't come from them. That was what you thought you wanted.
no, I didn't. No, it did. Well, I mean, some of it probably came from a high achieving family, yes, but just I didn't get the emotional support or the chance to let my hair down and take a deep breath, and for someone to sort of support me in a way that a lot of people interpret as giving up or failing or being weak. That's a big term these days. And so I didn't realize that those were options. I
Gosh.
just kept going and going and trying to um, overcome everything, and often didn't share my feelings about any of this stuff with anyone. Often I almost never did. So yeah, it's like a building volcano right inside, and then eventually it just erupted because none of us are built to withstand that. And you talked about going uh, to a cabin where you didn't have the phone and the news
Or
and
any device at all.
right.
Here I am
So
with the teapot and the wood stove,
yeah, so
in nature.
there is a parallel here, and that is that you and me and probably everybody watching and listening know that we use these devices all the time, and we have come to rely on them, and in many cases they're fantastic. Uh, but and you get used to them. But then when they're not there, all of a sudden,
You
it's
have to
sort
be,
of like
ugh,
you become aware of a lot of other things, not only physical things in our environment, but you're aware of different ways of thinking about things. And it's almost like a leash is taken off of you, and you can, you know, go to other places. So, I mean, for me, when I went into this first stress management class in college, it was like the first time. I mean, it's so simple. It sounds ridiculous to say this is the first time in my life that someone had said, okay, just stop what you're doing and let's take some deep breaths for a few minutes.
Breaths,
Just that. It was like the
breathing.
door, the prison door swung open, and I was able to see that there were all of these other possible ways of existing and of thinking and of feeling. But for so long, I only knew one way.
Oh, Jordan, holy cow. So powerful. I want to highlight a few things if I can for people listening. You know, I was a marriage and family therapist, dealt with a lot of parents with kids who were struggling. I think one thing that your story highlights, and I'd love your thoughts, we are not typically trained as children to stop, breathe, and hear what we're thinking. And one thing I learned in therapy was to be the physical container for people's feelings. Let them be able to say what they cannot say anywhere else. I got choked up. You're
Mm,
really the container. And I think if parents, any of you who have children of any age, can have a way regularly of saying, you know, what's going on in that mind of yours? What are you feeling? How is this for you? You know, but the key is, like my dad who's passed away, but he used to say every dinner, how about that? Let me hear the highlights and the lowlights. And the interesting thing is, he was a brilliant scientist, did not do well in psychology, but he wouldn't judge. That was the key thing. You could say the low light, and there was no negative judgment.
mm,
That's what holding the container is, and a lot of us are not good at that. Like the kid says, frankly, I'm really struggling in English and I'm really stressed. Well, a hover mother or hover father is going to be all over that. Well, let's fix that.
yeah, yeah.
Wait a minute, let's get you a tutor. No, listen. We'll deal with it in a minute. Well, you'll fix it in a minute, but listen to me. Do you agree with what I'm saying here?
Absolutely. And I'm glad you said it and brought that up because listen, we're helpful people, most of us.
We
We
want to
want to.
fix things that don't seem
Yeah,
like
listen,
they're
it's good to fix things. It's good to solve problems. But yes, there is that other part of just listening and, not always feeling that you need to have the answers for someone. Sometimes just saying, wow, that must be really difficult. I didn't realize you were feeling this way. Just that, in a way, is a fix because you're allowing someone to realize they're being heard, and I would venture to say that you're paving the way for that person, your child or a friend or someone else, to feel more comfortable with you coming forth in the future with more
right.
things that are on your mind and that you need help with. You're creating a safe space, of course, for those people. And yeah, so
And
excellent.
it's boundaries too. I mean, I get choked up hearing you because I didn't have that because my mom would get really upset if I were upset. So it also requires
Mm,
boundaries that I'm going to hold that you are upset and I love you. And it's not going to be, you're not going to see that I'm upset that you can't share. I'm here for you, you know. Important, important. Wow, what a story. Now let's move on. How did you from that stress management experience? Did you say, "Oh my gosh, I got to be a stress management coach"? What happened from there?
Uh, well, I was so wonderfully bitten by the stress management bug thanks to that experience in that
Was
first
that at the
class,
university? It was right there?
University of Maryland. Yeah, and at the time it
Bravo
was,
to them.
yeah, well, at the time it was one of the only places that had academic coursework in stress management physiology and
And
stress
you
management.
happened to be there?
I happened to be there.
Mother,
I happened to
you
be there.
angel.
Seriously, one of just a few schools. And so I took more courses and became a teaching assistant to the original professor whose first class I was in. It was like a dream for me. And I got the opportunity to teach as a senior first year students who were coming into that first class that I took.
What a miracle.
It was amazing. And my professor had confidence in me that I could get up there and teach. And so then I was bitten by the teaching bug, by the passing information on to others and seeing light bulbs go on over their heads, just as the bulbs
Mm.
had gone on over my head a few years earlier. So it never left me. And now I moved to New York because I wanted to move to a peaceful, calm place.
Oh, yeah.
And
Good choice. I
I
love
did
New York.
some other things, a lot of them health related. So I was definitely interested in the health field. But then eventually, I just wanted to get back into stress more. So I went to grad school at NYU and studied
Wow.
public health and health
Wow.
education, and then wound up at Columbia and directed their health education program, as you had mentioned. So I just got to have this lab of stress management um, toys and audiences, and developed a lot of programming uh, and classes and courses and technology. And yeah, so I've just kept
What
doing
a
that, and I love
journey.
it. And it's great to know that just some of what I'm talking about other people are doing. It's like dropping the pebble in the pond, and starts out with a little circle and then gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And I wake up with that image, and I try and go to bed with that image, because
Oh, that's a
all have a lot of pressure to be successful and influence. And yes, I'm making little faces, and be as beautiful as everyone on social media, and be as rich as, you know, celebrities are and some politicians are. But we can make huge differences with little pebbles. You know,
I
we
love it.
can be we can be really big pebbles in a way, not so much in size, but the impact that we have on others. So that keeps me going.
What a story. Now, I want to move to some practical tips, but I do want to highlight another thing. I work with a lot of people who want more meaning in their work. And one thing I say is, the most fulfilled people I've ever met in their work have often taken some aspect of their mess and turned it into a message. And I wish I had created that sentence. I didn't,
It's really good.
but it is really good. When we struggle with something, we have so everyone, if you want more meaning in your life, think of this. We have so much empathy for others who are struggling with some version of that. And it's not just that you have to work with people who have had brain tumors. It's when you feel you're not enough. And women have that in spades. I'm not smart enough, pretty enough, thin enough, accomplished enough, strong enough. Ay, then you are living in a constant state of stress. You're not enough and you're going to be found out. So think about, what mess have I had in my life that I have overcome? Or, for me, I knew I wanted to help people. I remember saying to a friend right after we both got laid off in a brutal way from corporate life, I can't, I want to be inspiring, but first I've got to do something inspiring. And I don't know why we laughed for 5 minutes, because I knew I wanted to help, but what the heck was I going to help with? I mean, I was a mess. So you turned your mess into a message. You got anything to say about that?
Yeah, just what you said at the end is what I was going to respond with. It's You first said, "Oh, how can I inspire people? I want to inspire people." That's great. I think the key is help. So I said it
I help
before.
people.
Yeah, I think I said it in some way before, that um, most people want to help, and many people appreciate help, and help can come in so many
That's such a better
forms. I mean,
reframe.
help with the
Inspiring is like, how can I be a thought leader? I can't stand it
yeah,
when people
yeah,
call
yeah.
themselves a thought leader. Or how can I be an influencer? Forget it. How can you help?
And it can be holding the door for someone can
Yeah,
help them.
it's true.
I'm using like a basic common example. And of course you can do things that are bigger, but you can help all day if you want. I think for somebody trying to find meaning, just going down that road, maybe you'll end up on other roads, but what do I do? Who am I? What are my experiences that can be helpful to other people? What are actual things I can do to help other people? For us to be very selfish about it for a moment, it really feels good to help people. It really feels
It's
good.
so generative, that's not the word, it gives so much, it gives so much.
It's a boomerang, right?
It
We
is.
feel good. The people we help feel good, and um, Carly Simon has an amazing quote. It's very close to people are tremendously helpful. You just have to give them an opportunity,
How beautiful.
right? So
What a nice way to look at humanity. Right
yeah,
now,
we
that doesn't quite feel accurate.
no, I know. We live
Oh,
and we live in this world where we're supposed to be able to do everything for ourselves. We're supposed to be, super men and Wonder
right.
Woman and everyone,
Individualistic, hacking it out,
right?
warrior, right?
So I love that idea of helping to help us find our meaning and our purpose, and keeping in mind that small things make a huge difference. And by the way, we never know sometimes the little things we do to help people where that's going to end up, right? Maybe the person you helped 2 days later is going to help someone with your information, and it will save that person's life.
I agree with you. Here's what I want to do, Jordan, if you're up for it. Um, I would love to make this is part one. There'll be a part two, and we're going to talk more about really specific strategies for stress management, why we're so stressed right now. And I think we know, but I'd love to hear from you. But before we end this part, well, there's two things I want to say. A lot of us are so darn busy. A lot of parents, I know moms, sadly, the negative impact of COVID is hitting women in many ways harder. Domestic violence, they're trapped. But I think so many of us are so busy that when the call for help comes, sometimes we don't feel we have it in us. And I'll be honest, I get a lot of requests for help. Can you look at this? Can you look at my LinkedIn profile? Strangers, or maybe it's a course member and the course is of mine and it's ended, but they still want help. And they might, just the other day, someone wanted me to look at something, and I'll be honest, I groaned like, oh, I don't have time. And I snapped myself out of it. You don't have time? Because I'm a writer. I can look at this thing in 10 minutes and make it better. And it was a fundraising for something, a beautiful cause, a blurb. I did it. Took 10 minutes. And the amount of gratitude and how that impacts this person is so big compared to the 10 minutes I spent. So, one thing I'd ask people is, are we really that busy that we aren't going to respond to that call for some assistance? Let's think about it, because I think, what are we really doing here if we're really that busy that we can't do that? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm just going to add something. It's not a pushback to that. It's just an add-on. I
Add
would
on.
never.
Add.
No, I would just say that it's true that sometimes we just don't have any more bandwidth,
Well,
right?
that
And we
100%.
do need to have some self-preservation. And I would just say maybe we could all think about some other resources that we could pass on to the person asking us for help. I get those questions too, and I have my list of hotlines. I'm thinking more about mental health things as opposed to
I
writing
love it.
hotlines, or other people they may talk to, or apps that they could use, or websites that they could go to, not to leave people hanging, right? So
So perfect.
you are still helping them,
Perfect.
right? But you're also helping yourself at the same time.
Yes, and don't get me wrong. If someone writes, "How do you become a thought leader?" Oh boy. Well, I've written about 52 posts on that, and here's 3 podcasts. So of course I'm going to give them that. I'm not going to talk for an hour about how to be a thought leader. But this was really, can you edit this?
Yeah, I get it.
So no, very good, because perfectionistic over functioners do too much. Now, before we end part 1 of this, can I have you do 2 things?
Of course.
What is What do you think is the biggest reason we're all so stressed out with the pandemic? I mean, I could list 10. I'm watching my mother fade and I can't be there, all of it. But what do you think is the biggest reason? And then I would love us to have you do that strategy that was just a few minutes, if you wouldn't.
Yeah, that would be a
What is
nice
the
way to end.
biggest thing we're all falling apart about?
Yeah, I don't know if I can limit it to one thing, but I'll limit it to one or two. Um, you know what? It's tough to have a tea party during an earthquake. And I think that
What does
we
that
are experiencing something that none of us has ever experienced. 100 years, maybe somebody who's 100, and it'd have to be like
Yeah,
110 to
the
really
Spanish flu
the
or,
Spanish
the
flu, exactly. So we're in this thing. We don't know where it's going. It has completely upended the lives of many of us. There's fear connected to it. So I do, when I talk about stress management, or I do online trainings, or communicate in other ways, I really remind people that, give yourself a little bit of a break too, because this is unprecedented. So I think it's a big earthquake. It's a big shock. And it's not surprising that we are all so stressed out. And, under all of that, um, whoever thought that we would be home all day, and whoever thought that our kids would be living with us for months on end, or that we wouldn't be able to go to a damn bar,
yeah, all those
or
social ways we connect.
or have Thanksgiving dinner. I mean, that's the next thing that's coming up, that's going to be, another tremor that we have to deal with. So I just think that um, it's completely natural. And I would say that because there's such an earthquake happening, because there's so much stress, please, 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 everyone, do even more to reduce your stress, because the more stress there is, the more we need to reduce it. When we're thirsty, and when we're really thirsty, we drink a lot of water. We don't just have a little thimbleful of water. So don't just take a thimbleful of stress reduction. Figure out, and we can talk about, more stuff in part two that you
We're
could
gonna do
actually
that.
do. But it's really important to do as much stress reducing as
And not
possible.
pretend. Don't pretend. I wanna end, part 1 with this. I just watched the Netflix doc, The Social Dilemma, and one thing that is so frightening that these are founders, designers of the top, tech companies, Google, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, whatever. No, not Pinterest, whatever. But one thing they said, which is so scary, is the algorithm is built to keep you hooked.
Yeah.
But my son shared that what he had heard was also we respond more compellingly to negative things. So the algorithm, one of the geniuses on this, said that if we keep going, there will be a civil war in 20 years, because the divisiveness is not just leadership today, it's what social media is doing to pull us in and keep us. So we're not even seeing the feed that we're seeing is not random news. It's tailored to keep you listening and watching. And I'm just going to leave you with part of why the pandemic is so stressful for me, because it's fine. I do Zoom. I'm okay. I'm social. I'm still singing. I'm playing, not live, but virtually. I'm playing tennis. It's the divisiveness. It's the rage. It's the hatred. It's the judging it's horrible. And that is and it's the divisiveness around COVID and how we're dealing with it. That's what stresses me out.
Yeah,
Would
it's
you
bad.
agree that you're
It's bad.
hearing that?
It's bad enough that we have to deal with a disease. We also have to deal with another disease on top of it, which is
That's right.
this anger and rage. And it's true that that social media and other types of technology, they're designed to stimulate us. And part of that stimulation is often it
Agitation.
throws us into a stress response and a fight or flight response.
That's right.
So yes, it's a version of what you're saying, but it's absolutely
I am
true.
going to
And
be ever vigilant. They say turn off your notifications. And these are people that founded things in Facebook. Facebook monetization director. Turn off your notifications, leave it in another room. This is not just nice to have. You need to do it. Watch that. All right, Jordan, leave us with
yeah,
part 1.
let's
Can
do
we
quick
do it?
calm.
Can we do it? I need it. Please give it.
Yeah, let's do quick calm. So if you want, and everyone watching and listening, if you'd like to close your eyes.
I'm going to do it.
You may. And just breathe normally for a moment or two. Don't have to do anything else except breathe. And what I will ask you to do in a moment is to take a deep breath in. I'll ask you to hold the breath for a few seconds. I'll ask you to think to yourself, I am warm. And then I'll have you exhale and think, I am calm. That's it. You don't have to remember anything because I'm going to lead you through it.
Great.
3, 2, 1. Take a deep breath in. Good. And hold. And think to yourself, I am warm. And exhale, nice and easy. And think to yourself, I am calm. And now with your eyes closed, just breathe normally again for a little bit. And one more time. 3, 2, 1. Take a deep breath in and hold and think, I am warm. And exhale, think, I am calm and relaxed. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So that was just a couple of reps of quick calm. You can do 3 or 4. And I describe quick calm as like texting your heart and your brain and your lungs to slow down. And the physiological,
Right. There's a
and
parasympathetic, what's it called? It's actually doing something
yeah,
physiological.
you're stimulating nerves when you do that. Nerves are sending signals to your heart. It's telling your heart to slow down as far as science can tell. And of course, the heart slows down, then your breathing rate slows down, sweating slows down, racing thoughts get slower, your ability to focus increases. So quick calm is designed to calm you down quickly when you're feeling suddenly stressed. I hope everyone was not feeling suddenly stressed when we
This
started that.
podcast is really stressing me out.
So if it did make you feel at least a little better, I'm just doing it now. Imagine how it might help if you were really in fight or flight mode. So quick calm is simple, fast acting, easy to remember. And I don't know if you want to talk this time or next time about the resource that people can use for it.
Right now, let's talk about the resource. Then we'll talk for a few more
Yeah,
minutes.
so we thought it would be fun if we gave a bunch of you use of the Calmcast app that my Chill Factory produces. Front there's a free part of it anyone can use, or you can go beyond that. But the free part of it does have that quick calm exercise. So it's like you just have a button that you push, and it's
Is it
me.
you
To
speaking?
me,
You
it's
have a
me coming
beautiful
out. So if you
voice.
hated my voice, then delivery, forget it. But if you were okay
Skip
with it,
that.
you just push the
Oh,
button, and there's a quick calm express, and there's a regular quick calm. It's just me guiding you. So it's like a panic button or an anti-panic button, or just a feel good button that you can use. Why don't we say, like, what did we say? 50 people?
that would
50 of
be
your
amazing.
of your
50
fans?
people can
Okay,
have
so
this.
50 people. So the app is called Calmcast, Calmcast, one word, and it's in the App Store and Google
Here's
Play.
my
And
phone.
you can just download it for free. And up will come the option to put in a password. And why don't we use, should we use Caprino?
How about Finding Brave?
Finding Brave, even better. So Finding Brave, all lowercase, one word. Put Finding Brave in as the password, and you'll be good to go. First 50 people. So if you get there and you can't do it, it's probably because you're
So
the
many people.
51st person. But you can still, at least for a couple of weeks, try it out if you want, or as I said, go beyond. So
Oh my gosh, Jordan, thank you so. I literally, and it works for me. It does. I feel different. I feel so different. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I can't wait to do part 2 with you. Are you
Yeah, so
ready?
yeah, I thank you for helping me help you and others. That's really great. And keep doing what you're doing. And yes, when we do a part two, we should focus on, yes, more strategies, more actual things that not only you can do for yourself, but that you can teach other people.
Sh- I love it. All right, people. I always say, I hope you're inspired. Now I'm going to say, I hope you feel the difference of what it is not to carry that agitation and fear, whatever it is, but you just feel more yourself, like the best version of yourself. I hope that's what you feel. Thank you, Jordan. All right,
Thank
people,
you,
stay
Kathy.
tuned for part 2. Coming now. Have a great week. Bye. All right, my friend, you up for doing another 20 minutes?
Oh, yeah,
Do you want to do it now?
sure. I mean, does that work for you?
It does. You want to take a break?
To what's your afternoon like? Like, could you come back at
I could.
3?
I could do that. Let's do it. You know what I like? This is coming out, I believe, Thanksgiving. Let me look. Yeah, it's coming out Thursday. Well, we'll do it. I'll send it out Friday, but it'll be the Thanksgiving week. Won't that be good?
Yeah, maybe we should also, yeah, it'd be great. Maybe we should also then throw in just a little talk about holiday stress,
Let's do that.
different holiday stress, right?
I'm going
Because,
to that would be December 3rd, the next part. Let's do it.
oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah, that's great.
Can we do that?
Yes.
All right. I'll see you at 3.
Okay, great. That
Thank
was
you.
fun. That was fun.
Bye. That was really
Bye.
fun. Bye.